top of it.
No.
Well, we got our.
You'll do that, I'll turn.
We covered our, she's not real worried.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
All these classes. We all will. I saw your plan.
That's where we're going.
All right, I've called order the Millersville Board of Commissioners meeting Tuesday, December 19th at 5:30 p.m. If everyone would please stand for the invocation and pledge.
Join me in prayer. Father, as we enter into this season, we give thanks for your Son, our Savior, the Lord Jesus. We've heard it said so many times that wise men still seek him. Pray that today with all of our hearts, above all other business we may have, we seek the Lord.
Yes.
And Lord, we know it will be found by him if we seek him.
Yes.
He is seeking us. Thank you for that. Lord, tonight give us wisdom as we meet together to go over business that's so important for our city and our community. We thank you for these leaders and for the work they've done this entire year and for so many years together and for all that have gone before. Help us to be faithful in these days, and we'll give you thanks and praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start the meeting, I have some certificates I need to hand out. Members of the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning and Appeals have to go for training every year. And 3 of our commissioners went to the training. Commissioner Doris. I'm sorry, 4. Let me change that. Mayor Lassiter. Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you.
I didn't go.
And Commissioner Gregory.
Thank you.
And I bet, yeah.
Did a check come with that?
Nope.
Nope,
That's what I.
never mentioned a check.
I'm getting a check to get it.
A lot of boring conversation.
No, the last guy was great.
Yes.
He was very, no, I'm serious, he really was very
That guy
fascinating.
was much more passionate speaker than Professor Randall.
Oh, I love that story.
He was the most passionate speaker there was in that whole council.
On the Constitution. On the Constitution.
Everything he spoke about, he knew.
Kind of smart manners and,
But I guess that's why he had a PhD.
Is that the only ones you have?
That's it.
All right, item number 3, approval of the November 21st, 2017 regular meeting minutes. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the November 21st, 2017 regular meeting minutes.
second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 4, approval of the November 2017 financials. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the November 2017 financials.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 5, award the City Hall expansion project design to OHM Advisors. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we award the City Hall expansion project design to OHM Advisors.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just to refresh our memories a little bit, what is the money that we're talking about on this right here?
We set aside monies in the budget for the actual design of City Hall. We have not received a contract from them yet. Hopefully it'll come in within that amount of money. That will be the next thing that comes to you for approval.
We approved this evening on the project design. When do we expect the design?
Well, I have given them a timeline that I would like to have the design finished by July. with preliminaries hopefully to us in April, because that's during our budget process, and I have already spoken with 2 financial advisors as to what our opportunities are to borrow the money. So at this point, we still need to look at how much it's going to cost us and see what our opportunities are as far as rates and that kind of thing, whether we bond it or we just straight out borrow it or what we do. And that's where the financial advisors will come in. So this will be a process throughout the next few months. The contract should be ready by the January work session for you all to look at. And like I said, hopefully it'll come in within the amount that we've budgeted. I think it should.
The rendering of the design, I think we've already chose that one.
Yes,
Did we
you've
not
already
get something
decided.
else in the foyer out here
It's
for,
already there.
It's already there, it's
There.
on the TV.
on the TV? Well, I didn't see a TV on, I come in. It was off. Well, that's
Well.
okay, working between 9 and 5, as long as it's on, we can see it. That's good, thank you.
And OHM did have representatives on the way tonight, but they got stuck in traffic because of accident on 65.
Yeah, I heard
So
that one.
they probably won't make the meeting.
Well, it went in the budget, $100,000 for
Yes,
this right
sir.
here anyway,
Yes, sir.
so you don't think it's gonna go over that?
I hope not. I don't think it will, but you never know.
Anybody have anything further? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 6 is appointment of Deborah Wade to the Planning Commission and Brian Aldridge to the Parks Board. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we appoint Deborah Wade to the Planning Commission and Brian Aldridge to the Parks Board.
Second motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And for y'all that don't know, this is Ms. Wade out in the audience here. She will be joining the planning.
Yes, great, great.
Thank you.
And she did come very highly recommended.
Item number,
By several citizens that we know, because I asked. They recommended, I was looking, to be honest with you, I was looking, we was looking. I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, you're
We
good.
was looking, and I called some folks that we know, all y'all know, Dan Toole and Frank Fox. And that's who they recommended. I didn't have the slightest idea. So went to talk to her, and she said, we'll pray about it. So she did. So she's here, so that's great.
all right, item number 7, approval of resolution 17-R-18, setting Millersville's position, salary ranges, and comprehensive plan. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 17R-18.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, some discussion. The salary study, who conducted the salary study?
Oh, Lord. Do you remember their name?
Is it Burris?
Burris something or another. Yeah.
Okay, and the criteria they used, did they use criteria based on tax base or population or?
They used they have different formulas that they use. The first thing that they requested we did was create our job descriptions based on what people actually did and performed. They spent time with all the employees, and then they looked at market data and other variables to come up with their conclusions. That's the best I can answer you, as far as that's concerned. If I may, I want to bring this to your attention, and this is why I'm bringing this to you at this time. In our charter, in section 621-102, it talks about the city manager being able to appoint, promote, suspend, transfer, remove any officer, yada, yada, yada. But the key here is that it's section B. It says, except as otherwise provided in this charter, the compensation of all officers and employees of the city shall be fixed by the city manager within the limits of the appropriation ordinances, which is our budget ordinance, and in accordance with a comprehensive pay plan adopted by the Board of Commissioners. It is my understanding that we have not done that in the past, at least not that anyone has been able to tell me whether we have or not. Holly, since you've been here, has anything like that happened?
We used to adopt a minimum and maximum salary ranges with the budget every year.
But not an actual comprehensive plan, is what I'm asking.
We've never had a salary study done.
Okay, until we did it the other.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. And the second thing is, in our own employee manual, Section 4 talks about the compensation plan and what it should have, who can make changes, and that kind of thing. And if we're going to have to abide by a personnel manual that everybody else has to abide by, there's something here that says the compensation plan, and it's ranges of salaries and positions and that kind of thing. And the use of those salary ranges, the minimum rate established for a class in the normal hiring rate, except in those cases where unusual circumstances such as an inability to fill a position appear to warrant employing an individual at a higher rate than the pay range. So in other words, if somebody, we say for example Michael, when we hired him, if his compensation ranges were a minimum of say 50,000 to whatever, and we couldn't hire anybody at the 50,000, okay, we would have brought him in at a higher rate than the minimum. That doesn't say that if I hire somebody tomorrow and say it's a laborer or someone in a clerical position that's coming in and they have a minimum rate of $15 an hour, but they don't have the experience that is totally required, but they meet what we're looking for, that I can't bring them in lower and bring them to the minimum. Do you follow where I'm coming from? Mm-hmm. And that's basically what this is saying in our own personnel manual. So what I'm trying to do is follow both. And by adopting, when we got the pay range study back, you all accepted it, and we started with that budget year trying to bring people that were lower to their actual minimum rate that they should be, which was step 1. Especially the people in public works, especially the people in the front office, because there was such a disparaging difference. The police officers, their minimum range was only a difference of 10 cents, so that wasn't bad. Those were easy to bring up to where they needed to be. Department heads, on the other hand, were grossly underpaid. So the decision that I made, and you all blessed, was to bring our lower level people up to where they need to be for step 1. And then within those ranges, there's 12 total steps from step 1 to step 12. It's 2.357% between both the next step, from step 1 to step 2. So when we came to raises for the next year, we could actually give raises within that percentage based on merit, which is what we did the second year. And then the second year, we rose some of our department heads up to bring them closer to their minimum. We have right now, and I can pass this around if you want to look at it, 1, 2, 3, and 4 people that are not at the minimum rate yet. And of those people, it's the police chief, public works director, the police lieutenant, and the assistant fire chief. The reason we've got one corporal that's above that rate. The other corporal will not even reach that rate until next budget time. They agreed to take the position and wait. That's the type of employees that you have. Sewer worker one, you have one person that's above that rate, the other person is still below. So with that being said, we have accomplished a lot in the 3 years to bring everybody up, and hopefully this next year we'll have enough money to bring everybody else up even closer to their step one.
When do you anticipate, what do you consider step one, the minimum?
That's the minimum.
Okay. When do you anticipate bringing these department heads to that minimum?
Well, I'm hoping this next year. It all depends on finances. We knew it was gonna take time, and we looked at it over a period of 5 years.
Yeah, all right. That's the concern I had. I went back and compared this pay classification ranges with the budget that we approved on June 15th, well, June 20th, actually.
Right.
And I looked at that, and I guess what got me is the police chief, you know, and he does an excellent job, nothing against him or anything. We know he's underpaid, but to raise him up to the minimum level from where he's at now would require a 16% raise.
Correct, and that's why it hasn't been done.
Okay. And to bring him up to the middle level, it would be a 28% raise. So when are you anticipating raising? I mean, that's quite a bit of money.
It's quite a bit of money, and we've been doing it incrementally as much as we can and as much as we're allowed to based on the budget.
And that's what I was asking.
Yeah, and
what the variables were used in this study, if the tax base that we collect was one of the variables that are used in the study.
I couldn't answer that. I couldn't answer that. This was a study based on market rates.
I guess that's a question I have, is do the market rates include what our city income is?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I really don't know. I don't know that was even discussed. I don't remember. This was 2 years ago, to be honest with you.
The second question I have is, if during next budget session, in June of 2018, we start looking at this again, and we know that we can't meet these minimums, are we tying ourselves to this pay classification if we pass this resolution? I mean, to me, I think what you just read by the ordinance, it sort of ties our hands. That this commission has no choice but to give these raises. And as such, it appears to me that in the past, before I was a commissioner here, that the commissioners actually gave raises based on, I guess, the income that was coming in, and did it by ordinance through the budget process, through the budget ordinance. Is that correct?
No, commissioners have never gave raises.
Well, within the budget ordinances that we approve, those raises.
We approve money,
Yeah,
but
we
not
approve
the
the money.
raises, not the
We
percentage
approve,
of raises.
well, we set the salaries.
No.
Well, let's back up there. The salaries are set by the city manager for her personnel, correct? And this commission approves those recommendations.
What we done in the past was salary ranges, and the city manager had to fall within those salary ranges. If he or she was gonna give a raise to an employee that was in the middle of that salary raise, they would not be able to go past what the maximum was.
So we've done that by ordinance in the past, is that correct?
Not by ordinance, no.
How has it been done in the past?
How was they done, Holly?
But it was with the budget. It was adopted with the budget.
With the budget ordinance that was
Yes.
approved by
Yeah,
the
I
city
guess it was
commission?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're doing a resolution. We're essentially tying, to me it appears, and I may be incorrect, but we're tying our hands until we get
But what
situated.
she's saying, in the last 2 or 3 years, we hadn't done either one, which is something that we should have been doing and we haven't been doing. And we've never done the comprehensive pay plan, ever, that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
if I can just clarify, yes, it was adopted by the commission as part of the ordinance. However, it was subjective, if I may put it that way, because this city has never adopted an actual pay plan. So it was based on whatever percentages the city manager felt were necessary to give those maximums and give those raises. There were some years the city manager may have given someone a 3% raise, and that max went to $45,000 a year, and that's what was approved. But 3 years later, no other additional raises were given. So what I'm trying to stop us from doing, and which is really what we should be doing, is actually do, number one, raises by merit, a certain percentage, step by step by step with a maximum. We've got an employee here that is very close to the maximum. Okay, because he's been here for a long time and got paid a lot of money when he worked for the sanitation department. Okay, so he is at step 11 right now, where compared to what he would be starting at if it was brand new. All I'm trying to do is establish a range based on their responsibilities. How long is it going to take us to get there? When we discussed this, when the pay plan came to us, the pay study, we thought it would probably take us about 5 years to get there. Because initially, the total cost for us to bring every single employee up to the minimum, which was step one, was $132,000, and this city could not afford it. So this commission agreed to allow me to bring the lower and go up the scale. Everybody has gotten a percentage raise every year as far as our employees that are department heads. Has it brought them anywhere near where they should be? No way. The department heads were so far off. So this next year, all of the employees that have reached level 1 or level 2, that reached level 2 this year, they will look at raises in that 2.357 range, and the department heads will decide what percentage they will get based on performance. Okay? And as far as my department heads, I've tried to give them a 3% raise ever since we started this, just to get them higher up. So it may take us a couple more years to get there. That's, I guess, the best answer I can give you.
Now, I do remember years ago when I worked for the state myself, and they used to have job classifications.
Yes.
And they did have these ranges of minimum and maximum in those ranges for what that position paid. So, if I'm understanding correctly, we have not had this in the past. We have had this in the past.
Because I voted on it before it passed.
Okay.
We've had to pay ranges.
We've had to pay ranges.
Not the comprehensive plan.
No, not the comprehensive, well, that study that we had done, that guy that come in, but he studied and he compared us to Nashville, Knoxville, and other
No,
regions.
that's not
Yes, he
true.
did, because I asked him, and he said yes.
But he also compared us to cities that have 800 residents and 400 residents. And
The study had to look at people, where people will go. And if we're gonna lose our employees, where are they gonna go? Goodlettsville, I mean, all of our surrounding cities. None of them have our population. Neither does Nashville.
it takes in account.
It takes into account a lot of different variables, and I couldn't explain it to you. That's why we hired somebody to do it.
It takes in account how close you are to Nashville, because we're competing with Nashville to hire people. If we lived in Jackson County, we're not competing with Nashville to hire people, so you're gonna get people at a lower rate. I mean, it's just common sense.
I understand, I understand it, I understand that reason right there, but we're competing against Nashville that's got businesses. I'll use Gouldsville for instance. We're competing against Gouldsville down there. They're building 5 motels right now. We don't have one coming out of the ground now. So, I mean, we're having to compete with that right there, which we don't have the revenue source to come in to compete with them.
So,
You know, you take a one trucking company versus J.B. Hunt, he can't compete. You know, there's no way he can haul the freight for their rates and stay in business.
Yeah, I was not on the commission when this study was brought in, so I have not been, I have never seen it. And that's why I've had these questions, because it's, in getting back to my original question, what were the variables that the experts used to determine that this was the correct pay classification?
Income had nothing to do with it,
Yeah. Now,
that I believe, and I may be 100% wrong.
I agree with Commissioner Coleman and the mayor. We do need, this classification range. We need to set this compensation. Everybody I know of has one. But then my question is this the correct one? And I don't know. I mean, y'all were here. I wasn't on the board at that time, so I have no idea.
I thought the study was very fair. I mean, it used 99 cities and counties across Tennessee. Metro was one of those cities. But there was cities that had 300 and 400 people in them that was part of that as well.
Well, I do know this, that back in 2014, that a police officer in Millersville, starting out, had a higher base pay than a special agent for the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission.
That I have no idea.
Yeah, that I know.
But I know for a fact that the starting pay for a police officer here is less than what it is at Metro.
Yeah, and I know
Metro,
that too.
Gilletsville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Springfield, that's who we're competing with. If you're not competitive, you're gonna get the people on the bottom of that barrel. The turnover rate's gonna be higher, therefore it's gonna cost you more to train them. So,
I agree with you, and don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
I agree with you. And I agree that you don't want the bottom of the barrel, and you want people that are gonna stay here for a long time, because longevity actually reduces cost.
oh, of course.
We know that. But then again, I'm looking at, some of these, I'm concerned that this commission, or at least I'm seeing it this way, that this commission is tying its hands to, for the example, 16, 28, and 42.2% pay hikes in comparison to what currently exists.
I don't necessarily agree that we're tying our hands to that. If need be, when we get to the budget,
Can we deviate from this?
well, if we can't, we just tie that to the budget.
And again, this is all based
adjust
on
it.
funding. If funding is available for us to be able to bring everybody where they should be, then let's do so. The past 3 years, it has cost us a little about $3,400 each year to bring as many people as we could up to step one. And that's not, compared to the 132,000, that's
But what Keith's
very
saying
little.
is
But I
if-
understand where Keith's coming from.
If we pass something that we're 25% behind, and then we get to the budget, does that tie us to, we have to get to that
No.
number? And
It's
what
a
I'm
guideline.
saying, if it does tie us to that, then we just simply amend that during the budget.
But let me ask this question, can we not maybe table this and bring back that study and find all the details of exactly how it came up with those numbers and those figures again to please the commission?
That's
And
fine.
kind of
I
go over
just,
that so that we can
I
all
wish you would have
really,
called me so I could have gone over this with you.
do you know what I'm saying? And then we can really make sure that these numbers, everybody feels comfortable with before we pass this.
And I don't have a problem with that if that's what you all are comfortable with doing. I wanted to, what was it? There was something I had to say, and now I got sidetracked. I went over how much money it costs us every year, whether you're gonna be tied to this. Oh, understand that study was done in 2015. Usually these studies should be done every 5 years. Okay, so we will have another one in 5 years, if I'm still here. Okay, and then we will compare to see what the market value, because the market value and step one are completely different. Completely different. The market value for these positions is a lot higher than step one.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it will
Yeah.
be in.
Well, no,
3
it
more
was
years.
then.
Yeah.
It was then when we got this.
I think that comprehensive study and everything, and the ranges are necessary for us to conduct business properly, there's no doubt about that. I'm just concerned with what the variables were,
Yeah.
and whether or not it's tying this commission's hands to a set of standards that some experts put into place or suggested. And,
You are just adopting salary ranges. That doesn't mean that we absolutely have to pay these people.
And I agree with that, but some of these, even if we were to be required to pay a minimum, we're looking at in between 16 and 20% salary hikes currently from what they're making in the fiscal year 16 or 17, 18. It would require us to have, it would require an increase of about 18%. I think it's 18, it'd be between 16 and 28%.
I really didn't want to go into exact dollar amounts, but it's public record.
It's on the budget from what you emailed to us on June 14th. That's
Yeah,
what I had.
yeah, but you're not seeing everybody's salaries there.
Well, the police chief says
The police
is
chief's.
$53,511.
He is at about $4 under per hour. A public works director is about 2.64, $2.64 under.
They, I agree with you. They are being underpaid in comparison
Yeah.
to other directors, other
So.
people in their position in
can-
other cities. There's no doubt about that.
Can we
I agree.
bridge that gap of $4 an hour this next go-around? I don't know. We could surely try to, and that's what I've been trying to do all along, is bring it as close as I can to step one.
Well, I feel more comfortable that the mayor has mentioned that we are not tied to this.
No.
and that-
I don't believe we are.
No, you're not, because you approved the budget, and if I propose to you that I want to give so-and-so, a big raise, you're going to question it. Why? Do you follow where I'm saying? So I come to you and I say, this is what it's going to take for us to give raises within the steps, okay, which is usually that 2, 3, 5, 7. And in order to bring department heads up, I would like I did this year, I am giving each department head 3%, with the exception of one. And I brought one person up to the minimum, because it fit within the amount of money I had. And that's exactly what I'm gonna bring back to you next time. So that's what all I'm trying to say.
Well, getting back to my original questions, I'm concerned whether or not this pay classification range is suitable for this city's particular circumstances.
We had RFQs were requested, this was the company that was chosen,
And it may be, I'm not saying it's not.
I don't know. I mean, another company may come back with a different answer, but we chose a company and this is what they presented us. And then 5 years from now, we'll go through the whole process again, do an RFQ again and choose a company and have them come back.
You mean 2 years?
Oh, 2 years from now, exactly. I mean, we went through the process. Nothing is, know that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So if we don't pass this tonight and then bring it back, is that gonna be any issues as
Has there
far
been
as?
a motion made on it yet?
Yes,
Motion
But
and
I-
second.
we're
but I
in
can-
discussion, we're in discussion.
Yeah.
The only issue that I'm gonna have is, we have had several people leave, and we've had some reorganization to do within departments in order to fill positions. And, I mean, I can wait, but I can't wait until until January, because January is when these positions are gonna be filled. You follow where I'm coming from, and I'm already being questioned as to why we're not following what our charter says and what our personnel manual says.
So what does that personnel manual say again?
that we will establish a compensation plan.
Does it state the type of compensation or the requirements of the compensation plan? Or
Yes,
can
it does. It does. The composition of it is that the pay plan for the city of Millersville shall consist of a minimum and maximum paid rates with intermediate steps for each existing pay grade, position classifications,
So,
which is basically what
So
I,
essentially, this commission could establish that compensation plan without any help from outside.
correct.
Okay, so we could say the compensation plan starts out at $1 up to $10 million with 12 steps between it. We could actually say that.
You could actually say that if you wanted
I
to.
know I'm being facetious.
I
about
know,
it,
I know.
But that's something that we can establish.
And the maintenance of the plan is to be taken care of by me, and any changes to the plan that are recommended to the plan, I take to you guys, but you follow where I'm coming
Yeah,
from?
yeah.
I'm just trying to make us do what we're supposed to be doing.
And I guess that's what I'm wondering though, is even if we wait 1 month, I'm not understanding why it wouldn't matter, because evidently we haven't had it in the past, and we've been just fine, and if we waited 1 month just to make sure we go over this, look at the numbers, go back to that study, make sure that we're all feel comfortable with it. If we haven't had it, then I guess I'm not understanding why 1 month won't.
I have made offers of employment to fill several positions, and although they're within, actually below the range for step one, I'm being questioned, so.
Well, if they're below the range of step one, as it appears here, why can you not offer them that salary?
They're employed here though, right now, aren't they?
Mhm.
They're employed here for the 5 now.
I mean, I don't see why a month would make a difference.
That's fine with me. I mean, I'm bringing it to the open that I have people that are starting January 2nd and January 4th that I'm appointing to interim positions, and this has not been adopted. And,
Well, I think I agree with Commissioner Coleman. I mean, we
So if
haven't-
y'all are okay
apparently
with that?
we haven't- I'm okay with it. And I'll be honest with you, tonight, I cannot possibly vote for this.
and that's fine. I understand
Under the
how you
circumstances.
feel.
You know, I may be the only dissenting vote, but these are questions I'm concerned with. And I think you've answered a lot of them, but still, I don't feel like being rushed into it either.
No, and I don't want to rush you. I'll say it again. I wish you would have called me. Maybe we could have gone over the plan ahead of time. But I'm just making you aware that that's what's happening January 2nd and 4th. And if you all are okay with me continuing until this is, I'm fine with it. I do not want to be in trouble for doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing. That's all I'm saying.
I think you should continue what you have been doing in the past, pursuant to what this commission has allowed in the past, obviously, until there is a change.
Yeah, and if they're questioning, let them know that we're working on it. We just don't have it settled yet.
You're not gonna be paying more money than what the budget allows for.
No.
No, she said it was, under this first step.
Well, I'm just, as long as it's under the budget number.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so what I would like to do is to make a motion to withdraw, or withdraw my motion.
Or just lay it on table.
Well-
Motion, Table it.
But aren't we gonna bring it back to the next, or send it to a work session to go over the study?
Automatically go to the work session.
Okay, thank you. So then I table.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to table. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I'll run by tomorrow if you have a copy of that.
Yeah, come on by.
All right, citizens' comments. If anyone would like to stand up and speak, name and address.
Highway. I think it was back in the summer, y'all made a vote where you couldn't have metal carport. but for some reason it's come to my attention that commercial and industrial can happen, but citizens can't. That's kind of a slap in the face, man.
I'm not aware that commercial and industrial can have them either.
That's what I found out.
Can they?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't answer that.
There's nothing government in court, industrial, commercial, correct?
To my understanding, our code, chapter 90, is silent on the issue of metal sheds in commercial and industrial districts. The only section of our code that addresses metal sheds, carports, is within the residential design review standards.
Again, I don't have it in front of me, I wouldn't be able to answer.
Well, I'll
I
say
think he's
this,
right.
from my recollection, the last time we talked about metal carports, prefab metal carports, they was banned citywide. Now, I don't know whether it's in the code book, but I know it come across this table, and that was the opinion of this board.
Wasn't the planning commission at one of their last meetings discussing that not that particular problem, but just the type of sidings and how to, didn't we have a discussion?
Actually, you all took action and made a recommendation for some significant modifications
To
to
the-
the residential accessory structures through the residential design review section of the code. And so we have completely revamped the residential portion, but we haven't touched anything in the commercial or the industrial at this time. And it's I do not recall having ever seen any standards within the commercial and industrial that references metal carports.
I do believe he's correct, because when we
Well, I
did
don't-
discuss the carports, we said nowhere in the city, but we were discussing residential, so
Now,
that
that's
may
way out
be, that may be why that was never put in the code, so that is a
Let me ask
rule
you
on
this,
our
the
end.
carport that went in, did they acquire a permit?
I do not believe they did, and I believe it did exceed the minimum square footage.
Then I'd make them get rid of it. That'd be my opinion.
What address is that? Are you aware of the address?
It is the CEC Electric. We have an approved commercial site plan for them. We're waiting for them to submit their building permit application.
Okay, yeah, I did hear about that, and I did hear that code enforcement and the building official went out there to talk to them, so I'll follow up on that. Stony, is
Based on
that the
my-
one that you're talking about? Okay.
Based on my understanding of what this board talked about, any metal carport that's been erected or altered in the past year or two should be removed.
I'll take a look at the ordinance that was approved. And honestly, with all due respect, that's all I have to work from is the language in the ordinance, not necessarily what was discussed, not what was generally agreed, but what's in the ordinance.
Fair enough.
He's right.
Anyone else?
I just have a question for them. It shows on in our calendar that the first is a work session. Well, the first surely is a holiday, so you want to reschedule for the 2nd or the 8th? Or
It's the first on Monday?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
I think
it
we
is.
should have it on first.
Okay, that's fine. Me, I don't have nothing to do.
You bring in the champagne?
It'll probably get rescheduled.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up tonight.
Because we have a BZA on the 2nd, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
All right, city attorney's comments. He don't have any because he's not here. Item number 10, commissioners' comments. Milton?
Yes, I'm the one that brought it up to Michael's attention on that when I went by. And my question was, they've got a backhoe sitting under a carport. And when we was discussing all this, I said, you go out here and buy a $40,000, $50,000 car, and you can't put it on the carport, but you can buy a lawnmower and put it on the carport. And industrial and commercial property. That was what Michael told me. That's what I asked him. And he looked it up. He said, well, under commercial and industrial property, it does not.
Now, there's some stuff that's not codified yet, so that's why Michael said he's gonna pull the ordinance itself.
Well, yeah, he told me that. I mean, we had a good discussion with it. I don't have a problem with what Michael told me. I mean, he explained it
Yeah.
to me. to the best of his knowledge, what he had to go with, and he said he was gonna look into it.
And we will.
That's all I got.
Ms. Turner?
Nope.
Nope.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't have a thing.
Okay, the meeting for January, when do you want to have it?
Following Monday.
Either or the second.
The second, there's a BZA meeting.
Could be
We
the,
can have it afterward. She'll already be here.
She won't be late.
just for one of them,
Oh,
just for one of them, Keith.
And David be here too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see?
well, that's what you guys want to do. We can do it.
What
Fine
time
with me.
is it start?
5. And it usually don't last long. What, you don't have a big agenda, do you?
Now, they've got Mr.
We
Thompson.
have two
again.
items. They shouldn't be complicated. I don't expect them to.
Now, Mr. Thompson again.
I'm fine with the second. I mean, that's up to you. I don't care.
I'm fine with it.
Let's do the
Say,
second.
You want to do it January 2nd?
How about 6 o'clock or
Yeah.
sooner after the BZA is possible?
Yeah, I would say do it at 5:30.
We'll just leave it at 5:30, and if we have to wait, we'll have to wait.
Well, don't our work sessions start normally at 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yes.
What else you got?
I am gonna have to come back to y'all at the work session, and maybe have a special meeting afterwards, to make a decision. I'm having a hard time finding a building inspector that's certified, and we're gonna have to contract it out. I've received 2 proposals, and I've also interviewed somebody who I thought was gonna work out on a part-time basis, but he took a full-time job and he's only available in the evenings and Saturday, and that's not gonna be good, in my opinion, for the way we do business. So, I'm gonna bring the 2 proposals to you that I have received, from private companies that do this at the next work session, but in order to do this, while our building permit fees are such that it should cover the expense of paying for a building inspector, it's not something that's budgeted. So I'm gonna probably have to bring you a budget amendment in order to accommodate the fees so that we can pay this man. Because the fees that are paid go directly into the general fund to pay for everything, so.
I was under the impression that we could hire a building inspector that was not certified as long as he became certified within a year.
As long as they're working under somebody who is certified, you can't just send somebody who's never been out there and inspecting things. Personally, I don't feel comfortable with that, number one. Number two, even if it was somebody like yourself who's been in construction
No, it
for
ain't gonna be
years.
me.
No, I know, but I'm just bringing it up as an example, who know what you're looking at. Without the certifications, if something happens to that particular structure, it's on the city, and that's a huge liability as far as I'm concerned. You know, whoever we bring on board will be fully certified all the way through. We had somebody from Goodlettsville that was willing to work for us part-time, but they don't have the mechanical and they don't have the plumbing. So, you know, to have somebody that's only able to inspect part of it, but not all of it, is not gonna work either. The county said that they would try to help us as much as they can, but the bottom line is, we're gonna have to hire somebody, contracted out, because I can advertise for a part-time building official, or inspector. They are in such demand right now with the construction, they are leaving the cities and they're going to private companies because they're making a lot more money. So, just wanted to let you know that that was on the way.
I just remembered when I built my house, the electrical inspector
That's
was
state.
of state.
Yeah, and we still opt that out. to the state. We still do that.
We don't opt it out, I mean, that's just the state.
No, there's certain cities that actually have
They
their
opt
own.
to do them themselves.
Yeah,
Does it cost us anything?
No.
no. And I think that's all I have, other than Merry Christmas, everybody, and we missed you, Miss Coleman. We missed you,
And a happy new year.
and a Happy New Year.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Merry Christmas, folks. Merry Christmas. Have a good one. Bless your heart, folks. Thank you, David. Merry Christmas, guys.
Thank you for the card.
I'm trying not to, but I probably will.
Oh, it's doing great. It's doing great. I thought I really messed it up at the parade when it fell, so. But yeah, you can leave it to me. But I'm fine. No, yeah, I did fall over my grandchild. No, I was getting on the float and Jerry didn't have a hold of me right. Down I went. And I was like, oh, crap. So,
Let's give the mayor a pat on the back.
I swear to God.
But I wouldn't advise to pat him on the
No.
shoulder.
Can you back so much?
And then duck, because that other arm will come around.
See ya.
Now you're official.
Now I'm fishing.
Yes, you are.
We can look at that.
I can call you back and bring the other guy.
You too.